No, I was in
So you let you know when somebody's coming.
went back to the instructor. Stayed there for about 3 years. Went back to work. Aircraft carrier. That's right. You know?
That lady
And those, I'm not there yet. So.
What's loading at?
Not showing up.
And I say, but why? Exactly.
Oh, okay, yeah, the gator net. Yeah, low rate. Independence Gate 5 years.
That's one reason why I picked up this option shift.
They don't have to carry the
Well, apparently a few of them are. It's where you at now? Here, come right.
Amanda, she's 7 years old and
all grandkids fall on one granddaughter, more
Yeah, but I think that Valerie.
This was starting 9 o'clock.
I'm not sure. I don't think it's, I think they're always going.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Although this person needs to
I know how you feel. Another one makes it look away.
just look at me.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing? Good. You still in Ames?
No.
You getting out? How's everything going? Good. Chief had to pick the hottest day of the year.
Over there by the gas station.
It's like a thrift store.
Yep. Exactly what it is. That's what you want. You need to go up and I gotta leave. You know what? I call.
Yeah. No, I haven't. Well, I just back in the old
You know, that's that's right. And you know what happened? What used to happen to a lot of old boondocks? Because way back when you wanted to build attorneys, they used to send them to the police. They used to send them to the police.
There are legal ones.
She would start off with girls.
It's not enough girls for that.
Before we even get started today, we have flowers to pass out. On this branding. Nice party. Yes, sir.
Start match, shoot one for the lady on the end here. I'm her official photographer today.
Oh. What was that? You get to stand right here?
Well, you actually move to the left. Thank you, ladies.
I don't know where to say, but y'all ready to send me home?
Attention on deck.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you remain standing for our official party, the national anthem, and our invocation. Chief Raymond, our national anthem.
Pause for a few moments this morning to acknowledge the lives of the McGraw family, the career of Chief McGraw, and to do so in a ceremony because despite the fact that we will utter words, words cannot capture the time spent, the gifts given by this family and this man, the leadership provided, the ableness to communicate, And we pray that as we come here, we might all be aware of our own commitment to our nation, to each other, to a world fraught with pain and chaos, and needing clearer words, clearer love, and clearer service. And certainly, a career in the Navy represents service and gifts and caring. And so we pray that you will bless us with your presence, that you will be in the midst of this ceremony, that you will heighten it with a sense of purpose, a sense of hope, a sense of peace. Again, we thank you and we acknowledge the talents, the energy, and all the good gifts that this man has brought to his shipmates. And we ask that you will bless him. And as we do this, we pause for just a moment to remember members of the uniformed services throughout the world, and especially those who this morning are in harm's way. Grant us all a sense of mission and a sense of your presence in our lives as we seek to serve and as we seek to preserve peace. We give you thanks, we acknowledge your presence, and we make our prayer in your holy name. Amen.
Yes, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the retirement ceremony for RMC Robert Randy McGraw. At this time, it is our pleasure to introduce our commanding officer, Captain Nancy Brown.
Welcome to this morning's ceremony honoring Chief Petty Officer McGraw and his wife Carol. I'd like to extend a special welcome to the Chief's parents, Barbara and Danny McGraw, his mother-in-law, Marge Kent, Aunt Louise Duncan, brother and sister-in-law, Gary and Judy McGraw, and their 3 sons, Nicholas, Tyler, and Logan. Today we mark the day that Chief McGraw will permanently quit the sea. We celebrate this event with a ceremony designed to express the nation's appreciation for a job well done. It's a day of great significance that marks the end of a richly rewarding way of life, living and working aboard ships and serving in stations both here and abroad in defense of freedom. Shipmates from the members' last duty station are assembled, and highlights of their career are reviewed, award presentations are made, commendations cited, and the commanding officer bids the member farewell. We will also recognize the dedicated and faithful service of Chief McGraw's entire family. For 20 years, they have sacrificed what most Americans consider a normal home and family life, enduring frequent moves and long separations. The significance of this sacrifice cannot be overemphasized, and there are no words that can adequately describe our gratitude for the contribution that they have made. A review of Chief McGraw's record clearly depicts him as a very accomplished individual that has been stationed overseas on the most northeastern corner of the United States and on the high seas. And it is particularly noteworthy that his naval experience has been shared in the truest sense by his wife, Carol. As you will see as I review his record, Carol has been a full partner, and today's ceremony is also for her. Chief McGraw has earned personal awards, commendations, and the admiration and respect of everyone that has had the opportunity to serve with him. It is not often you have the privilege of working alongside someone of the caliber of Chief McGraw, and I'm extremely grateful for having had that honor. In August 1978, Chief McGraw began his naval journey, entering boot camp as a young, somewhat rebellious hellraiser from West Virginia, and his father confirmed that for me, so I know that's a true statement. From the outset, he was recognized as possessing special talents in the areas of leadership and team building. He just wasn't ready to conform to all the rules and regulations and became somewhat of a maverick. Lucky for him, he was a likable one, and I think that probably kept him out of serious trouble on more than one occasion. We see these common themes running throughout his career: strong leadership, concerned counselor, and the go-to guy, but still the likable maverick. In May 1979, he reported to his first duty station the USS John F. Kennedy CV-67, home ported in Norfolk, Virginia. From the very first day he reported aboard as a young seaman, he was recognized as an asset to the communications team. He was described as a fast learner, always eager to accept a challenge and more complex assignments, and when it came to standing the male buoy watch or catching a sea bat, Chief Seaman McGraw was well known as a very willing participant. But he also earned a reputation as a top performer, continually seeking to improve his technical skills and knowledge, and always shared his new game skill or knowledge with others. In July 1980, he was promoted to third-class petty officer and soon became the only third to qualify as a supervisor, consistently outperforming seniors assigned the same position. Although he continued to be a bit of a rebel and frequently needed a haircut, it was obvious to his seniors that he was not the typical third class, but had some very special talents. He just needed someone to give him focus, and I think he found that someone in 1981 when he met Miss Carolyn Sue Wills and began a relationship that would endure the hardships of Navy life. In March 1982, he became a shellback, and in June of that same year was advanced to Petty Officer Second Class. He was fondly referred to as the young punk from West Virginia, and was always in the middle of any practical joke or antic that occurred in radio, such as the time the LPO's EMI log disappeared. Now, I can't imagine why he would want to have that log disappear. I'm sure his name wasn't in it, but I don't know. But throughout his first tour, this young, somewhat naive sailor matured and developed into a promising second-class petty officer destined for success. In February 1982, he reported to the USS Canopus AS-32. Again, it was immediately recognized that he was not the average second class. He rapidly became one of the top radiomen on board and was specifically noted as having the ability to lead in any situation. He infused his watch section with enthusiasm, left no stone unturned, and was dedicated to doing his best for the Navy. While it was also noted that he impressively recovered from some early adjustment problems, we now see a mature second class with definite career goals, which I am sure can be credited to his relationship with Carol. His performance is characterized as nothing less than that of a superior communicator. He demonstrates an inquisitive nature and impressive skills, obviously desires to be the best radioman possible with a genuine enthusiasm for teaching and for making new systems work. Respected and a valuable asset, he is the radioman of choice. I also have a personal account from his LPO at the time, Mr. John Schiavone, who's working the camera back there, if anybody has questions afterwards, that Arm II McGraw was laid back with not a care in the world, no matter what was going on. In fact, sometimes he was downright annoying, which I can't imagine, and was always coming up with some scheme or practical joke. But the closer it got to the weekend, the more dedicated his performance and efforts became. And of course, he always wanted something for this late in the week hard work effort, and that was Friday off. Well, it didn't take long for the LPO to realize that he could benefit from this as well, and he took advantage and made Arm II McGraw earn every one of those Fridays he got off. By February 1985, it was again time to transfer, and Arm II McGraw reported to the Naval Telecommunications Center, Ward Circle in Washington, D.C., where he served until September 1986, when he was selectively screened and accepted for duty at the Naval Telecommunications System Integration Center in Cheltenham, Maryland. This was choice duty, and there were no shortage of volunteers, with only the very best being selected. And Petty Officer McGraw proved to be the very best. In October 1986, he was promoted to first-class petty officer. It was at his wedding down party that he earned a certain reputation for drinking beer. It was not necessarily the amount that he drank, but more the manner in which he drank it. I understand he was laying flat on his back under the spigot with his mouth open. It was also during the same time frame that he married Carol. Life was good, and he continued to excel at work. Comments regarding him included sets the standard, self-motivated, tireless effort, accomplishes tasks normally assigned to more senior personnel, exhibits extraordinary technical wisdom and professional aptitude in the field of telecommunications. The next stop on his journey was SATCOM at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, where he arrived in March 1989. Almost immediately rated as the #1 first class, he was depicted as an outstanding leader with unlimited potential and a can-do attitude. He anticipates problem areas and initiates corrective action, demonstrates total commitment to the Navy. His talents, hard work, and dedication were soon rewarded with his selection for Chief Petty Officer. Now, as most of you are aware, Chief's initiation can be a grueling period, and most spouses are pretty sympathetic to this and reluctant to be party to a lot of the antics, but not Carol. She knew how hard the Chief had worked and what it meant to him to be promoted to Chief Petty Officer, and she wanted to make sure that his initiation was everything it possibly could be. So she cooperated fully, did everything she could to assist the Chief's mess with their task. This included turning over evidence and suggesting charges, and I'm sure that the Chief was very appreciative of all of her efforts, which he reaped the benefits of, I'm sure. Now, once promoted, the Chief did not relax, but seemed to have gained increased motivation and drive. Still cited for his leadership and his ability to define problems and plan solutions with tangible, positive results, Chief McGraw soon became the #1 Chief Petty Officer and the kingpin of the detachment. He was also elected as the president of the local bowling association, although his skill and knowledge of the game were put into serious question when he tried to convince everyone that the best method of clearing the lanes when the reset mechanism got stuck was simply to throw a bowling ball, Carol's bowling ball, not his, into mid-air, aimed for the wall above the pin setter. Now, I'm assuming that the theory behind this was that he felt that the vibration from the hit, when the ball hit the wall, would bring the pin setter back into action. And they tell me there's still dents in the wall from his unorthodox methods. But regardless of his bowling skills, he exhibited a deep sense of personal responsibility and total commitment to the Navy. In November 1992, Chief McGraw reported to Naval Computer and Telecommunications Station, Cutler, Maine. As for me, the Chief reports this to have been his most memorable duty assignment. For those of you unfamiliar with Cutler, it's located about 20 minutes beyond the end of the Earth in what many consider to be uninhabitable terrain and weather. The station consists of about 100 military, 80 civilians, and approximately 100 family members all living on base. This is where I first met the McGraws, although I didn't arrive until the summer of '93. By the time I had arrived, the Chief and Carol had both established themselves as community leaders and supporters of all base activities. The Chief was the career counselor and holder of every other collateral duty that anyone could think of, and Carol was the leading admin assistant. Never have I seen anyone better suited to being a career counselor than Chief McGraw, or Father McGraw, as he soon earned the reputation and was called. The young sailors turned to him, as did those that were more senior. The other chiefs not only turned to him, but also made him their spokesperson for the mess. I knew whenever there was unrest or a crisis brewing, because Chief McGraw would come in my office and say, "CO, we need to talk." Then he would proceed to explain the problem or situation, and he always had a recommended course of action or solution. I grew to depend upon the Chief, as did about everyone else at Cutler. He was also the person that made things happen. If anyone had an idea about an activity or needed someone to get a project moving, Chief McGraw volunteered. If you are familiar with Cutler, you realize we had to make our own fun. There was no local movie theater, there was no baseball team or no opera house, none of that. Anything that we did, we had to think up on our own. And of course, sailors have a habit of doing that anyway. But this became a difficult task at Cutler, especially during the long, dark days of winter. But just when you thought you couldn't take it any longer, Chief McGraw would volunteer to DJ at the club or suggest some special activity that he would also plan and orchestrate. In fact, Chief McGraw originated every annual activity that NCTS Cutler continues to promote. He's an exceptional chief. He He strengthened community relations and enhanced the morale of the entire station. I can honestly say he is without a doubt one of the finest chiefs I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and I'll always cherish the memories of the time we spent together at Cutler. Now, while the chief was doing all these great and wonderful things, Carol was right along beside him, helping every step of the way. That is, unless she was watching QVC with a phone in one hand and a credit card in the other. There is one story I have to relate about Carol. One of the reasons Cutler will always be very special to me is that's where my now husband, proposed. He planned a very romantic evening, and if you're familiar with Marines at all, you know that they can plan very romantic evenings. That's one of the things I know everybody knows about them. And he actually caught me off guard. And so I asked if I could have some time to think about the proposal. Well, about that time, he showed me the ring he picked out. Well, I have to admit, I am materialistic, so I asked if I could wear this ring while I was thinking about my answer. And the first person I ran into was Carol, and she's the first person that I told that he had proposed and showed her my ring. And I thought, well, I explained to her that I hadn't answered him yet because I hadn't quite made up my mind, and she got all excited, and I thought, well, surely she'll realize I don't want everybody to know. I was just sharing that moment with her. Well, about 5 minutes later, there wasn't one person on base that didn't know and wasn't looking to see where I was to see this beautiful ring that I had. So I've always felt that Carol was more excited about this proposal than maybe I was, because I was so stunned. And I'll always remember sharing that moment with her. It was very special. In November 1995, the McGraws left Cutler for Commander United States Forces Azores, and I'm going to let Colonel Calvert provide you the details about their contributions during this last tour of duty. All I will say is that I know the Navy was well represented by Chief McGraw, and that I'm sure he made the other services appreciate our cherished Navy customs and traditions. So it is we have come very close to the end of this journey that began over 20 years ago. Chief McGraw is truly a unique individual, sincere, dedicated, loyal, and Navy through and through. He is what every sailor should strive to be. He represents the fighting spirit of those that have gone before him to defend freedom and democracy around the world. He has proudly served with honor, courage, and commitment. He has repeatedly proven his commitment to excellence and the fair treatment of all. Yes, Chief McGraw is a sailor, and I'm proud to have had the opportunity to serve with him. During our careers, we meet a variety of individuals, but rarely do we have the privilege of coming across a couple like the Chief and Carol. I'm extremely thankful I had that opportunity. Chief McGraw taught me about mentoring and how important it is, especially to today's young sailors. He was never too busy to stop and offer advice and provide encouragement. General Krulak, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, says, "Leadership by example is the bedrock of our profession. You cannot lead by memo. You cannot lead by shouting. You cannot lead by delegation of your responsibility. You must lead by example." Chief McGraw has spent 20 years leading by example. He has motivated countless sailors to excel, broaden their horizons, and reach for the stars. He has set an example for all of us to follow. Carol, you're very special, and more involved in the Chief's career than any spouse I think I've ever met. You have stood by his side and supported him in every endeavor. He could not have arrived here today without your love and support. You and the Chief have made this journey together with the support of your families that sacrificed having you around on holidays and special occasions. It's been a great trip. So as you both reflect on the journey, you should be proud of your numerous accomplishments and the success that you have achieved. Today marks the end of one journey and the beginning of a new one. As you execute this last set of orders and transition to a new job assignment, the emotions we all feel include great anticipation of what lies ahead. Atlanta holds in store a new set of challenges and experiences, and I'm confident whatever you decide to do, you'll be successful. I wish both of you fair winds and following seas, good luck and Godspeed. Now it's my privilege to introduce Colonel John Calvert. I'm extremely pleased that the Colonel's with us this morning and anxious to hear his versions of the Chief's and Carol's contributions while they were in the Azores. In his position as the Chief of Staff of the United States Forces Azores, I'm sure there was little went on that he was not party to or at least aware of. Colonel Calvert is now serving as the Associate Dean, Office of Academic Affairs at the Armed Forces Staff College.
Well, it's good to see a lot of familiar faces out there in the audience, and especially good to see a lot of the McGraw extended family out there in the audience, because Captain Brown is absolutely right. Days like today are a family kind of event, so I'm glad you're all here to share this. And especially glad the McGraws asked me to be a part of this. I know this is an important day in your career, but I believe it's an important day in my career too, because we treasure these kinds of moments, and thank you again for asking us. And also, Captain Brown, thank you for allowing me to share the stage and giving us a special dispensation to deviate from white uniforms. As Captain Brown mentioned, I had an overlap in careers with Chief McGraw in the Azores, similar to the environment you described at Cutler, a small community on an island. Those kinds of things tend to bring people very close together, and that was no exception at U.S. Forces Azores. 26 people trying to be a sub-unified command. You can imagine what that was like. And Chief McGraw was in the J6 shop at that time. In fact, many times, he was the J6 for a sub-unified command. And Captain Brown used the words go-to kind of person, and that's exactly what I saw in Chief McGraw. He was a bulldog. When I gave him a problem, he wouldn't let go of it until it was solved. I would constantly get these emails dated 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. For a while, I thought he was tricking me. I thought he was changing his clock time to make me think he was working at 2 or 3 in the morning. But it wasn't long before I realized that no, that wasn't the case. He was there, nose to grindstone, making sure things happened. And when you're as shallow as we were, as small as we were, you needed those kinds of folks. And the McGraw family were those kinds of folks. Because Carol also worked for the Sub-Unified Command, first in the J1 office, and then when I had the opportunity, I hired her as my secretary. So for a few months period there, she was my secretary as Chief of Staff for U.S. Forces Azores, and also as the Vice Wing Commander of the Air Base Wing out there, the Air Force organization. So I had plenty of Navy influence on how I ran the organization there. And you can see that influence by the sprinkling of uniforms through the audience here. Let me share a couple of stories about Chief. I think I got him after his rowdy days and after his attitude adjustment kind of period. So I saw a little different kind of McGraw. But as I mentioned, the Azores was kind of a family, kind of an atmosphere. And the Sub-Unified Command there was a very close organization. We used to have these potluck lunches frequently, where the families would get together and cook up special spreads for lunch. One time, somebody had a great idea. How about a potluck breakfast? And so we did that. 26 folks cooked up a feast for breakfast. I mean, the tables were covered with food. Eggs Benedict. I think Sergeant Metzger was cooking up omelets to order. And my wife happened to fix some sausage and biscuits. And we all circled the tables, getting our food. The chief kind of settled in and grabbed a plate full of my wife's sausage and biscuits, went back, and I think in about a minute and a half devoured that plate of biscuits and gravy. Got up, circled the table, another plate full of biscuits and gravy. Sat back at his chair. But by that time, the amount of gravy was kind of going down, so he started to glower at the folks that would make a beat with that gravy as he was devouring his share of the gravy. So people kind of started to shy away from the biscuits and gravy. For his third plate, there was no circling the table. It was a D-line straight to the biscuits and gravy. And in fact, we got to where we ended up sharing food. Carol would fix macaroni and cheese and trade it to Melody for biscuits and gravy. That was the kind of atmosphere the Azores were. And the McGraw family was an integral part of that. Another little story. And I tell this one a little bit carefully here as an Air Force officer at the world's largest Navy base among the world's finest sailors. The chief didn't have a good history for keeping custody of the Belle when he was in the Azores. The Belle was absconded several times. In fact, one time, absconded for a lengthy period of time. In fact, I was even implicated as being one of the perpetrators of that vile act. But I'm innocent. In fact, no matter how hard the Navy tried, they could not recover that bell. When the actual thieves departed the island, they gave me custody of the bell and asked me to make sure that it fell into the right hands. Still, the Navy couldn't find the bell. I had to resort to cutting out little footprints and laying them step by step to lead the Navy officers to the bell. And there was a procession through the U.S. Forces Azores building, the Navy folks following those footprints, and they finally found the bell. And as I said, Chief, I want you to go into retirement understanding that I was innocent of that theft. Of course, you might wonder, would an Air Force officer standing here ever admit to stealing a bell in the first place? But that's what you wonder about in retirement. Again, if I can let you know that the blue you see in the audience, the blue up here on the stage, should tell you the impact you had in 2 short years in the Azores, as a man, as a chief, and as a family. And again, thank you very much for allowing me to participate. If I can take a little spin off the Navy saying, may the path ahead of you flying the clear skies and the gentle tailwind. And I have one small gift. In case, out of retirement, he ever wants you to find the bell, those footprints will lead you there. But also, if there's no lost bell in the vicinity, you'll find those footprints will lead to our door, a fresh pot of coffee, and this is some gravy. Thank you.
Officer Sneed, can you escort Mr. McGraw to the podium, please? We have quite a few awards and presentations again today. We'll start with the first one is a certificate of appreciation from the United States Navy. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Carolyn S. McGraw has earned grateful appreciation for her unselfish, faithful, and devoted service during her husband's naval career. Her unfailing support and understanding helps make possible her husband's lasting contribution to the Navy. Given this 26th day of June, 1998, signed Anne Brown, Captain, United States Navy. Next is a statement called the Lady in Wait. Men sail to faraway places, yet she never says goodbye forever. As the sunset is beautiful, so is she, and only her love more so. She is the Lady in Wait. No creature of God's earth endures more, and gives so much, for her mate is among the men of the sea. For reasons beyond her control, she must rely on her faith that this man, to whom she is devoted, loves her equally. Hers is a mission of love, understanding and trust, a mission of bearing the undeserved pain of loneliness and waiting. The mate must endure hardships too, but his is the mission of country and honor, and of this she is proud. These things can open the hearts of the proudest sailors, despite the assault that they have accumulated upon their brows, for they know that it is the Lady in Wait that gives the man of faraway seas the strength to continue, the enormous strength required to endure both the monotony and danger of an unpredictable and uncontrollable environment. Let us never forget the men that sail the seas to ensure and protect our freedom and our way of life, but also let us not forget the Lady in Wait, for it is she that makes it so. Celebrate with us today the Lady in Wait, for she is my wife. Remember, dear Lady in Wait, that we all love you and appreciate the enormous sacrifices you have made, sacrifices which have enriched us all. Next we have the award, actual citation, so I have to ask for attention, please. U.S. Atlantic Command, headquarters of the Commander-in-Chief, to Defense Meritorious Service Medal citation to Chief Bradyman Robert R. McGraw, United States Navy. For exceptional meritorious service as Deputy Assistant Chief of Staff, Command and Control Communications and Computers, United States Air Force Azores from December 1995 to August 1998. Chief McGraw performed his significant and demanding duties in an exemplary and highly professional manner. His sterling leadership and technical expertise were instrumental in providing an outstanding interface between the host nation of Portugal and the 65th Air Wing Base Host Command, solving a wide variety of C4 issues. Chief McGraw spearheaded numerous improvements to C4 capabilities, greatly enhancing U.S. Forces Azores operational readiness and fostering continued U.S. strategic access to the Azores. An exceptional long-range planner, he ensured U.S. Forces Azores primary command and control systems meet both present and future requirements by guiding the implementation and upgrades of several vital command and control systems, such as the Global Command and Control System, the Next Generation Radar, Air Surveillance Radar, and MILSTAR. Additionally, Chief McGraw's attentive coordination, diplomacy, and leadership ensured successful frequency management within the Azores area of responsibility while maintaining effective bilateral relations with local officials. Chief McGraw's outstanding management and information systems expertise enabled him to plan and implement several state-of-the-art upgrades to the Joint Staff's local area network, greatly enhancing staff efficiency and productivity. His uncompromising diligence and uncommon resourcefulness inspired all those who observed him and greatly contributed to the successful accomplishment of the U.S. Forces Azores mission. The distinctive accomplishments of Chief McGraw accumulate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Navy and the Department of Defense. Please be seated. Next, Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States. Chief Bradyman Robert R. McGraw. I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of our nation for your honorable service. You helped to maintain the security of the United States of America with your devotion to duty that is in keeping with the proud tradition of our armed forces. I honor your service and respect the commitment and loyalty you displayed over the years. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Bill Clinton, Commander-in-Chief. From Commanding Officer, Naval Computer and Telecommunications Area Master Station, Atlantic, to RMC Robert M. McGraw. Subject letter of appreciation. On the occasion of your transfer to the Fleet Reserve, I wish to express my appreciation for your many years of honorable and faithful dedication to duty. During your long and distinguished career of 20 years, you have served in many commands and activities. These are listed in historical review. The Recruit Training Command, Orlando, Florida. Raymond A. School, Service School Command, San Diego. The USS John F. Kennedy, CV-67. Raymond C. School, Service School Command, San Diego. The USS Canopus, AE-34. The Naval Telecommunications Center, Ward Circle, Washington, D.C. Naval Telecommunications Systems Integration Center, Cheltenham, Maryland. Naval Satellite School Detachment, Fort Gordon, Georgia. The Navy Satellite Communications Detachment, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. 2 tours there. Naval Computer and Telecommunications Station, Cutler, Maine. And Commander, United States Forces Azores. Your superb performance of duty has been reflected by numerous awards and medals, including the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal, 2 awards, Joint Service Medal, Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal, Navy Unit Commendation, Meritorious Unit Commendation, 2 awards, Navy E Ribbon, 2 awards, Good Conduct Medal, 5 awards, National Defense Service Medal, the Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, 4 awards, and the Navy Marine Corps Overseas Service Ribbon, 5 awards. For you today, there is undoubtedly a feeling of pride and nostalgia when considering a career that has spanned so many years and which has become so much a part of your life. We acknowledge that the Navy is losing a true professional. Accordingly, as you embark on a new career, it is with honor that I extend to you the Navy's traditional good luck wish of fair winds and following seas, and offer you sincere best wishes for the years ahead. Signed, N. Brown, Commanding Officer. This one from the United States Senate. Dear Rating Chief Petty Officer Robert R. McGraw, on behalf of the United States of America, and especially those of us from West Virginia, it is my privilege to extend our deep appreciation for your 20 years of loyal and dedicated service to the United States Navy. Your record of conduct, performance, and devotion to duty reflect your allegiance to the highest standards of the military profession. In your years of service, you have brought proficiency and expertise to your challenging assignments and have certainly made a tremendous asset to the Navy. May you and Carolyn continue to find challenge, success, and reward in the years ahead. Thank you, Robert, for a job well done. It's sincerely signed by John D. Rockefeller IV. Dear Mr. McGraw, I understand that you are retiring from the United States Navy on August 31st, 1998, after 20 years of dedicated service. I wish to take this opportunity to extend to you my sincere congratulations on the completion of a successful career and to commend you for your long and distinguished service. I hope that you and your family will enjoy your well-deserved retirement. I join your friends and colleagues in wishing you many years of health and happiness, wishing you only good things in the days and years ahead. I am sincerely yours, Robert C. Byrd. State of West Virginia, Office of the Chief Executive. Greetings. Be it hereby known that Rating Chief Petty Officer Robert McGraw has been presented the Certificate of Appreciation and Recognition by the citizens of the Mountain State for unselfish public service in promoting human welfare in the position of the United States Navy. Given under my hand and the seal of the State of West Virginia, signed Cecil H. Underwood, Governor of West Virginia. Dear Rating Chief Petty Officer McGraw, on behalf of the citizens of West Virginia, I extend to you our thanks and congratulations for 20 years of service to the people of the United States. Your record of accomplishment must be a source of great pride to you, your family, and many friends. Your sense of duty and loyalty set a tremendous example for all of us. I'm enclosing a certificate of appreciation as a small token of our gratitude. I hope the years ahead will bring you much pleasure as you pursue the activities you enjoy. Please accept my best wishes and kindest regards. Very sincerely, Cecil H. Underwood. Miguel Nunagi. Our Command Master Chief Kennedy will now present the traditional shadow box, which contains the national ensign.
Randy, it is with great pleasure that I am honored to present this shadow box to you. This is from all the Navy chiefs that you've ever served with and all the chiefs in the United States Navy. Congratulations.
With the flag comes a certificate that reads, "It is a great pleasure that I present this flag to you on the occasion of your retirement. For over 200 years, the Stars and Stripes have flown proudly over a nation which proclaims man's freedom and his right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The United States Navy initially raised the national ensign on the first day of its own existence, 3 December 1775, when John Paul Jones, on board the USS Alfred, personally raised the ensign to the ship's gaff. Today we present to you our nation's colors as a token of our thanks and appreciation for your commitment to the Navy and your country, and on behalf of all those who have gone before you, including those who have made the supreme sacrifice. Cherish this emblem of freedom and rest assured that the people you have trained during your career will continue to serve as you did." Dear Chief McGraw, as the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, I join all Chief Petty Officers in expressing sincere appreciation and boundless gratitude for your sacrifices and dedication given to guard our country's freedom. I am thankful that, as a member of the Chief Petty Officer community, you have continued our proud CPO tradition of being the driving force behind the finest Navy ever. Your continued leadership and example in this final assignment to the retired Navy are both welcomed and extremely important to the continued success of our great Navy. Your shipmates and I are indebted to you for your unselfish leadership, unfailing loyalty, and perseverance all these years. As you leave our Navy, shipmates you leave behind owe you a great deal of gratitude for the lasting impact you made and for the thousands of young sailors trained by you to carry us into the future. I thank you and bid you fair winds and following seas. Very sincerely, Jim Hurt, Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy.
Now I'd like to read you the Chief's Retirement Creed. The CPO community takes pleasure in presenting RMC Robert R. McGraw the following retirement creed. You have on this day experienced that which comes to all of us who serve on active duty in our Navy. I say our Navy because your departure from active duty in no way terminates your relationship. By law and by tradition, U.S. Navy retirees are always on the rolls, ever ready to lend their services when the need arises. The respect that you earned as the Chief was based on the same attributes that you will now carry into retirement. You should have no regrets. Do not view your retirement as an end of an era, but rather as orders to a new and challenging assignment, to a form of independent duty. Remember well that you have been and will always be an accepted member of the most exclusive of all fraternities, that of U.S. Navy Chief Petty Officers. The active duty chiefs salute you. Your retired chiefs welcome you. I wish you the traditional fair winds and following seas.
Next is the wild part. So we'd like to make some remarks.
Now, let's see. How many retirements did we do? About 30 of them, and I kept saying, how come people won't make speeches? How come people won't make speeches? When I retire, I'm going to make the speech. Well, here I am, and I'm not going to make the speech. I do want to recognize a few people. Everybody out here, I know somewhere along the line we've crossed paths. We've been with one another. Some of the best friends in the world, you know, and they don't all have white uniforms on. And it's 20 years has been outstanding. No matter what I can do from here on out, at best it might be icing on the cake, you know. Mom, Dad, I thank you for all your support. You know, Carol, you're a saint, you know. You sit up with me at nights when, you know, when I was so frustrated with all the E6s and everything, trying to tell me what to do. You've been woken up in the morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and had to sit there and listen to a sailor with their problems. You gave them better advice than I ever could. And then you gave me the advice. I love you so much right now, and I'll always do. I thank you for that. And the rest of you, I really appreciate it. I mean, your friendship and love is just beyond belief. You know, y'all some of the best people in the world, aren't you? Thank you.
Big one. Fleet Reserve Certificate of the United States Navy. This is to certify that Robert R. McGraw, a Chief Bradyman, was transferred from the active duty to the Fleet Reserve of the United States Navy on the 31st day of August 1998 after 20 years of service. This certificate is awarded as a testimonial of faithful and honorable service. Signed, N. Brown, Commanding Officer, Stan Planters. Chaplain Archer will now deliver the benediction.
Let's pray. pray. Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm hath indeed found many restless waves. We give you thanks again for this family, for this chief, for what they have meant to shipmates, to the citizenry of this country, and to each other. We ask that you will be with them as they enter a new phase of life, that you will strengthen them, their hopes, their fears, that you will be forever at their side. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his smile upon you and upon all those you love, and give you peace, now and forever. Amen.
Please see. Side boys, host.
Right, left.
At this point in the ceremony, we have one last thing to read, and that is a thing called the watch. We have Petty Officer Thunderbump. Thunderbird. See what we can do.
The watch. A ship sails gracefully and silently into the harbor. The anchor is set and the sails are furled. The crew prepares the ship for a ceremony and shifts to dress uniform. At the appointed hour, the word, "All hands on deck," is passed. Side boys, stand by to hoist away. Bosun, stand by to call. The time has come for another sailor to retire. The bosun's call or whistle was used in the days of galley slaves to keep the stroke of the oars even. The Royal Navy adopted the call as a means of passing orders to the crew above the roar of the wind and seas. Officers wore the call and their uniforms as a badge of honor. The Royal Navy also uses the call as a means of rendering honors to officers and visiting dignitaries. The U.S. Navy has followed that tradition. The side buoys were originally used to raise and lower the platform that dignitaries and officers rode as they boarded or departed the ship. The number depended on the weight of the dignitary. Today we will use the side buoys to render a last salute of respect to the departing retiree. When the ship was ready and the crew was assembled, the retiree was brought front and center. Tales of voyages made, storms weathered, battles fought, friends known, ports visited, and liberties enjoyed were remembered and retold a final time. Gifts of swords, pistols, and custom-made sea chests to preserve the retiree's uniform were presented. At last it was time to transfer ashore. The retiree stepped onto the platform, and as the side boys lowered him to the waiting longboat, the bosun blew a final call. Gone are the sails, platforms, and longboats. Seldom are all hands called on deck. The bosun call, side boys, and gifts remain. In the 1800s, commanding officers began allowing retirement ceremonies for enlisted men. Today, commanding officers are part of the retirement ceremony for both officers and enlisted. Soon, Chief McGraw will step to the head of the side boys and be piped ashore for the last time. Before he receives that last salute, we should pause for a moment to remember. Remember that Chief McGraw had stood the watch for 20 years. Yes, while we were ashore in school, TAD, on leave, and yes, even before some of us were born, he stood the watch. He has experienced good duty, bad duty, long separations, short turnarounds, extended deployments, mid-watches, cold and hot wards, and long work days, often without praise, comfort, understanding, or mail, in order that we, our fellow Americans, and freedom-loving people around the world could feel safe and secure. Now it is our time to stand the watch. Chief McGraw, stand with me. We have lunch. Enjoy your retirement. And never forget that you are and will always be a part of the finest Navy in history. You're the best chief I ever worked for. Fair winds and falling seas.
This concludes the ceremony today. On behalf of Chief McGraw and his family, thank you for being a part of this ceremony. Chief McGraw invites you to Pier 26 for refreshments.
Then I went to go no, I was right on top of me.
On my way. I'll come up just like this. I'll go to the
Thank you.